So it is time to yeet the Succubus into the new region. I'm very curious to see how will the ship perform. Now, one of my friends is actually using this ship for the new region, and they're doing really well. They are hauling some serious ESC out of those systems, and honestly, the new region is very profitable. If you are flying smaller ships, the new region can literally bring you billions in a very short amount of time. And I'll be checking out the loot in the end. I'll check the actual market value because I'm very curious to see what the value is. Now, the Succubus has been changed since I last took a look at this ship. It received a minus 12.5% small shield field module speed decrease. I don't really remember that bonus being there. I think that's a new one, but everything else seems to be about the same. The Succubus as well as the Phantasm are two of the, I would say, more popular PvE ships as well as PvP ships, but they both have a very interesting PvE use. They have a very good shield and overall very good speed, and they are using lasers, which do have some of the best implants in the game at the moment. Now, this build is heavily inspired by my friend's build. They also have a very similar setup, although I believe they have a better nanocore and they also have much better rigs. Now, I built this ship in a more cheaper way. I didn't really want to go all out with integrations on this little ship. You don't have to have integrations, but I would say integrations are important for the new region because besides PvE you also can find a lot of PvP over there, and Asteros can be a problem, so that's basically the reason why I have a integrated rig setup, although not entirely integrated. I have two normal rigs and one integration, two auxiliary thrusters and one capacitor rigs. One thing I have to mention though, maybe being too fast isn't really a good idea, as you will see later on, but the engineering rigs can be customized however you like. Now the nanocore here, I have the Sancho AI nanocore, not to confuse it with the golden core. It's actually called the AI core. It's one of the older cores that we had in the game, and I just have the primary attribute, 18% less damage. You know, nothing spectacular, but again, kind of the idea is to have a cheaper ship and a cheaper build. Now let me quickly show you the active stats of this little beetle. I love how this thing looks like a beetle. It's always been nicknamed a beetle, and I actually, there is one pilot that's I haven't seen in a very long time, but he was a god in a Succubus. That guy was really good with this ship, and maybe they come back one day. I still have their ship in my hangar. I keep their ship safe though, so that's one thing that's I guess left. Now I have a medium booster, which does boost at 3 seconds. I definitely recommend, if you go for an integrated setup, definitely improve with one integration, improve the shield boost per cycle and improve the capacitors, as well as improve the overall amount of shield boosted per cycle. Would be a very important, it's a very important for the Kalevala Expanse. Now, I've been thinking a adaptive is nice, adaptive definitely the way to go, but Bombard Astro could potentially be a problem, and in order to counter a Bombard Astro, you either have to have a very serious shield booster or a damage control. But if you have a damage control, it will definitely have an impact on your overall tank, and then speed will be basically your tank. If you have a damage control, speed tank should be the way to go. But if you do have a slower Succubus, then a adaptive will definitely be recommended, and in that case a much more robust shield booster is recommended to have. My shield booster should be decent, but I really want more boosts just to be safe, and definitely active tank the way to go, but it needs a much more powerful rig setup. In this case, I believe that I need a much more powerful rig setup in order to make the ship work the way I imagine that it would work. Now for For the general units, you can cover the afterburner, you can improve the booster, you can improve the Nosferatu efficiency. I usually leave the general units preference to the player, since we all have different builds and we all have a different approach to a problem, which is honestly fine. I mean, there's like a million ways to fit a ship out there, so I usually leave the preferences for the general units to the player, but in this case, in my case, for my build here, I would definitely go and add a unit for afterburner, for the shield booster, and of course for the Nosferatu. The three key components of this ship are the Nosferatu, boost, and afterburner. You can actually outrun most of the Asteros over there, since they're slow, and they can be quite the problem. That's true.
Undocking.
Not because of the ship, but because of the Bombard implant. The Bombard is ridiculously broken, and that implant again remains one of the only implants that haven't been nerfed from release, and it should really be nerfed at one point. 4.1 km per second, not bad. 16,000 hit points and 475 shield recovered at 3.07 seconds. Well, I would say decent enough. However, I think I would be happy if my shield booster was like boosting 600 to 800 per cycle. I feel like that's the golden spot, but again, if you have a different setup, I definitely encourage you to go for more shield boost, because it's going to be a much more tanky ship to fight. And well, time to go and visit one of the smaller regions. Now for that, I'll need a needle jack, or a filament, and I'll just quickly pick one up from my station here that I have saved. Expedition. Let me just go and find one. Shouldn't be. I mean, I have like 98 here, 99 over in this station. There we go, 98. My memory serves me well. That's good. I'm getting old, but not too old not too old yet to forget stuff. That's good. Alrighty then. Ship equipped with a filament, and now let's undock and let's jump. And of course, I mean, the jumping process is the same as I showed before. Basically, you have to open up, stop the ship. You have to be within range, and basically open the cargo hold, click, use needle jack, and then you just wait for the portal to be opened, and your ship will be sucked in. And pun was not intended. Succubus, and the Succubus will get sucked in. Oh my god, I wasn't even thinking about that, but it makes sense, I guess. Well then, now we're waiting for this little Succubus to be sucked, and then we will be entering the new space. Doesn't take too long to assemble a portal, and here we go. Well, let the games begin, I guess. I love how the new region is like, it's a Astro and Stratios like camp. They're everywhere, and you also have to keep in mind that your primary opponent here will be a Stratios or an Astros. So you have to be prepared to fight these ships, and the Succubus is more than capable to handle the Astro. I don't think you will meet a Stratios, since this is for frigates and destroyers only, so probably not going to meet a Stratios instead. Alright, well, here we are, and those things look nasty, and yes, they are nasty. You really have to be prepared, because these drones are no joke. The one good thing is, if you do get jumped, the drones will swap target to the Astro, so the Astro will get set on fire quite easily. Now, I mentioned on the start that having a lot of speed might not be the way to go, and honestly, depending on your skills and on the ship setup, in some cases your ship might be too fast for a close orbit and you might miss, and this was the case with my ship. I basically went with speed because I thought to use beam lasers, and basically you can use a beam build. Maybe the beam build is safer. We'll have to test out the beam build with a crew at one point. I still think that Blood Raiders are ideal for this job because they just have infinite capacitor. Doesn't mean that other ships are not good for this. I mean, every ship is good in their own way. But when I used the Ashmo, it was just so chill to just roll with the Ashmo. No issue with the capacitor, no issue with the tank. Maybe it's going to be the same thing with the Cruer in the new anomalies. I need to. The Cruer is the next ship that I'll be testing out for this job. And we'll have a very interesting build for that thing as well. The Cruer will be, I think, if there's anything that Blood Raiders are good at, it's definitely the new region, since most of the ships will probably have some problems with capacitor at one point. I mean, frigates only have like 3 low slots, and you can't really do much with 3 low slots. But with the Cruer, you don't really need to have a lot of low slots, since your capacitor is going to come out of that medium Nosferatu that will be equipped on the ship. And of course, the Cruer might not be the fastest, but it definitely has a bunch of capacitor, has also a bunch of power grid, and it can easily slap a medium booster that can be capacitor stable, by the way, on that ship. So I believe the Cruer is definitely going to be a very interesting ship for this region and for these anomalies. So that's the next of the boat that I'll be testing out. But honestly, the Succubus is getting the job done. I mean, my friend is using this ship really well, and they are, again, they're holding some serious ESC every run that they're doing over here, and this is basically something that players have been waiting and asking for years. It's finally in the game, by the way. Stuff that small ships can do, and yeah, I'm all in for that. Doesn't mean that there was nothing before that. You could do storylines with these ships with ease, but now you have something quite exclusive to these ships, and if you like to do this, then it's definitely going to be fun. It is challenging, but it is not impossible, and the loot at the moment should be really good. And again, I'll actually calculate what's the real price, because I'm very curious to know what the actual price is on per anomaly. By the way, this is just one small anomaly, and you can run how many anomalies you like until your cargo is full. So it's honestly not a big problem. Now, you will probably ask me well, how do I actually get out of the region here? Well, you have 2 different types of homecoming dojaks. One of the more advanced ones drops in the central anomaly, which is not solo content, but technically you can, but you know, it's more recommended to go there with a fleet. And then you also have the normal one, which is dropped by the normal anomalies within the Kalevala's Expanse, which is located. It can drop by these normal ships in the loot. So I guess I'll have to run anomalies until it drops. And honestly, it's fine by me. I mean, you can even log in space if you like, and if you do log in space, it can be a good thing, because you can just continue where you left off. Of course, you have to be careful, and this also does bring me back to the thing that I've talked about in one of the last videos, the lack of directional scanners. Now, it wouldn't be much of a problem if the frigates had 4 medium slots, and if the frigates could fit a red scanner. If you could fit a red scanner, you could technically have eyes and you could technically see what's around you. But right now, without any directional scanning or without any scanner in general, since you have 3 glove slots, you can't really know what's around you, so you're basically running the anomalies blindly. Of course, with cruisers, it's different. Some cruisers have 4 medium slots and you can fit a scanner, but at the moment, we really do need some form of a directional scanning. Doesn't have to be, doesn't have to give you an exact location of a ship. Just giving a ship type would be enough, just to see what's around you, to see approximate distance would also be a good thing. And right now the game really does need some directional scan, D-scan. It really needs a D-scan in order to make this much more comfortable. Right now it's 50-50, honestly. You can fit a scanner, but you will lose a scrambler or a web or you can go blindly and just cross your fingers that there is no Astra up your rear in any second, or in any normal. Could be an Astra just sitting there on, or it doesn't have to be an Astra. Could be anything. I mean, there's a bunch of other destroyers, frigates, and similar ships that can be quite nasty when it comes to PvP. And destroyers are very scary. The assault destroyers are nasty. They're very scary. The Algos Dragoon with drones, with bombard, can be disgusting, and the Talvar can also be very disgusting with missiles. It has some very serious alpha damage. So yeah, that's basically maybe my only complaint. Actually, my only complaint probably be the fact that there is no D-scan, and it's weird to just yeet in and just hope that you don't get jumped. But we will see. Maybe the developers will add a D-scan. I think they will at one point. It does feel like something like a D-scan is close. We will see. There is enough room on the overview for a D-scan, so we will see what will happen with that. Now let's talk about the Succubus a bit more. I'm actually really happy with how the shield is recovered. I mean, it can recover shield really well. The capacitor does seem a bit on the lower side. This is what I was talking about on the start when I said that the speed might not be the way to go. Having good speed is nice, always nice. I mean, it's always good to have a speedy ship, but in this case, if I had some more capacitor rigs, my capacitor would definitely be in a better shape. However, it is not critical. The small Nosferatu does recover my capacitor really well. Small Nosferatu plus medium extender is a very interesting combination. I love this combination on a frigate. It works really well. It does recover capacitor fast, and the booster does also recover shield fast. Of course, not the fastest shield recovery. Obviously, my friend has a better rig setup on their Succubus, and they boost a lot more. But even this type of build seems to be working just fine. I mean, I say just fine. It works okay. The ship did not die yet, and the last wave. Now, when the last wave arrives, I recommend that you pull out the fastest ships and kill the fastest ships first, just in case there is a Astra lurking around that's just waiting for you to get jumped. The safer thing here, just because there could be some nasty, cloaky Sister of Eve ships nearby, try to pull out the nasty fast ships, kill them first, reduce the DPS, reduce the amount of webs, reduce the amount of points, and then slowly make your way to the other ships. Does increase your survival chances if you get jumped. And at the same time, if there's an Astra nearby, it could potentially be decloaked by the ships trying to chase you. So there is also that little trick that you could use. Although I think the frigate systems, the small systems here, I think they have more traffic than the cruiser ones, because killing a frigate is much easier than killing a cruiser, especially with the bombard and with Sister of these ships. Well, could be wrong though. Maybe they're both equally as you know, inhabited by Sister of Eve ships. I wondered where everyone went. Well, they all went to the Kalevala Expanse, because honestly, the new region is awesome. Not perfect, obviously. I mean, not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it's decent. It's fairly decent, and I'm pretty happy with how it works. And this is probably a good tank test for this little boat. The shield booster does recover the shield, and the shield booster is really doing a decent job at making the shield on this thing up and running. The capacitor obviously needs improvements, and this is what I was talking about on the start. Capacitor rigs are definitely recommended if you plan to run something like this with a very similar build. Not because the current capacitor is bad. I mean, I'm fairly sure I am able to maintain the booster active even at 20% Capacitor with the Nosferatu and with the peak recovery rate should be holding at 20%, but it's still low for my taste here. But the little boat is holding really well. The little boat is really holding really well. I like when I see a good shield tank. It is satisfying to just watch the shield being recovered. Very happy with how this build turned out. Definitely turned out better than my build on the Megathron Navy. As you guys know, my fit on the Megathron Navy did not meet my expectations. This build is actually performing better than I have expected. Now, don't worry about the low shield. I'm just purposefully just letting it get low so I can see if it can easily just recover it. And the capacitor seems to be holding just about as I expected. Okay. Well then, I mean, this little boat, it just shows that you don't really have to have a crazy build. And if you do go with integrations, I definitely recommend the 3P60 integrations. They are at the moment the cheapest as well as the most cost effective, and probably I would say the overall best cost to performance integration setup that you could have on your ship. 3P60 definitely the way to go. Gives you fantastic stats and it doesn't cost a lot. And of course, if you want to have a ship for Kalevala, it needs to have a specific build. Can't really have one ship for everything. For the new region, you definitely need to have a specific ship with a specific build in order to run these anomalies without much of a problem. I'm very curious to see how other frigates will perform here. I will check this out with all the faction frigates. I will check it out with the navies as well. I'm very curious to how the navies will work, and the destroyers. I'm also very interested to see how the destroyers will perform. I believe destroyers could be the way to go, since they have a bit more tank, they have a bit more DPS, and overall they are kind of more dangerous to engage with an Astra. I mean, if you engage a Talvar with an Astra, and if the Talvar doesn't like your Astra, you can say goodbye to your Astra, because they have a bonus on damage control, they can be tanky, and overall they slap. But again, I'll be testing that out because I'm very curious to see how they will work. But at the moment, I'm very happy with this little boat. It did pass the test. It passed the test, and from this point on, I can only improve the build to make this job just easier and more effective, and more capacitor stable. The only problem that I encountered here is, well, not exactly a problem, but you know, already kind of expected that it would turn out this way. The capacitor obviously did go low, and because of the capacitor being low, the shield went low. But with some smart capacitor management, I was able to just keep the boost running and was able to keep the ship running. So definitely more capacitor rigs are required. Now let's check out the loot real quick. Now my friends is eating like 500 million every time they go in and come out of the new region, which honestly with a small ship is damn impressive. Now I just want to see how much I'll get from one anomaly. I'll just quickly loot, and then I'll log on the main server, and we will do some calculations, we'll do some math. We will see how much of actual value. Oh look, a homecoming beacon. Oh, perfect. Perfect. So I guess I will not have to run a second one. And well, that's a lot of this stuff right here. The minerals are quite pricey and quite valuable. The minerals are the main ISK. Now this is of 5 million. This is not correct what I'm seeing here in this cargo hold, because it's a test server and it doesn't really show the accurate value. Alright, so I screenshotted this. 521 crystals and 137 metals. Okay. Now, let me show you how this beacon works. With this beacon, with this with this filament or needle drag, you need to be on the sun in order to activate it. It only works around sun or on the suns in the system. So you basically have to warp to the sun, be close to the sun, although be careful not to roast your ship. You can, pull out some chips and make some chips, or can do that, and you click on the beacon and you just need to stay close. And you see the blue line, you just have to wait for the blue line to appear. Now you can get jumped here, by the way, and my recommendation is just expect PvP. Expect PvP and expect to get jumped. Your goal here is to basically try to stay alive until this finishes, until this is constructed, and then it will basically open and it will suck your ship right through, and it will send you in a random empire space. Could be low sec, mostly is low sec. You can follow the blue line, which is circling around, and when the blue line is completed, the portal is opened and you can basically just, it will just automatically suck your ship in, and that will be how you leave the system here. Well, of course you have gates, you can move from system to system, doesn't have to be necessarily in one system. We have a bunch of systems where you can go to, but I recommend that you pick a quiet system and you return from a quiet system where there is no one to basically disrupt the peace. And honestly, I do like the mechanics of getting in and getting out. I mean, getting in and getting out is kind of interesting. We will see what more lies ahead, but so far been some good updates. I'm just going to leave it at that. We had some really decent updates, and I cannot complain about them because they were fun. And yeah, there we go. Ship jumped in. Now when you jump in, you can automatically just click autopilot and the ship will automatically just warp. Just in case you don't want to be on the sun for too long, you can get jumped. Just directly just warp, and yeah, there we go. So let's check what was the actual price of what I got there. I have a screenshot right here. Nice little screenshot. And let's start with those crystals. Calculator is over here as well. Let's open markets and let's see how much ISK is in that cargo. Now let me just quickly find where this thing is, because there you should be here. There we go. All right. So lowest price is 120,000. Although the price does go up and down, so it doesn't have to be necessarily 120,000 per one unit basically. So 521 times 62.5 million just from those crystals. Well, not bad. Now the next is those precious metals, which used to be more expensive, but now I think their price kind of dropped. So let's just take a look. 60,000, and there is no other. Well, there is no other on the markets. 109 times 6, 70.8 million in the cargo hold just from these two items. And I'm also fairly sure these other items can also he sold for a decent price. So maybe we're looking at 80 million per one anomaly, and honestly, 80 million from one anomaly. If this is the lowest, I don't have much luck with the loot, so I can say that might be the lowest. But if this is kind of the lowest, it's not bad. It's fairly decent. And if you, let's say, if you spend an hour and if you do 7 or 10 anomalies in an hour, and if you get 70 million ISK per anomaly, you almost get a billion ISK in an hour, just with a small little ship in a small anomaly, which honestly isn't that bad. I mean, I would say that's pretty decent for a small ship. It's very decent ISK per hour income if you like to fly small ships. It's not like it's not bad. I think it's very solid. Could be very attractive for pilots who like to fly small ships. Now I'm actually getting interested in this. Not gonna lie, it looks very interesting, and it wasn't too difficult to clear it. Again, most of the risky part in my case here was the capacitor, since I kind of expected it. I just wanted to see how the ship would perform with such a build. But now we know that capacitor is definitely the way to go, and makes me believe even more that a Blood Raider ship would clear that much safer and with a more stable capacitor. So I'll have a lot of fun testing all that out now. I'm going to see which one of these ships is going to work. Not the best, but I just want to see how all of them will work. But at the same time, also I'm very curious to see what will work the best for me. I think the Kruger. I think it's time for me to buy a Kruger. Yeah, I think it's time for me to buy a Kruger because this seems interesting. Anyway, that's it for today. I think that was a very interesting run today, and I'm very happy with the current loot drop. I'll definitely do more. I'll see how much I'll get next time when I visit the new system. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.